Oh, I can't see. Roll call for Legislative Day 19, 3/07/2024. Anderson? Here. Baldwin? Here. Barlow? Present. Beitman? Here. Boner? Bouchard? Here. Brennan? Here. Case? Present. Cooper? Here. Dockstetter? Here. Ellis? Excused, Mr. President? Excused. Excused. French? Here. Furphy? Here. Guru? Hicks? Here. Hutchings? Here. Ide? Here. Jones? Here. Kinski? Here. Kolb? Present. Landon? Here. Larson? Here. McEwen? Here. Nethercott? Here. Pappas? Here. Rothfuss? Here. Salazar? Present. Schuler? Here. Scott? Here. Steinmetz? Here. Boner? Excused. Guru? Excused. And President Driscoll?
Here.
28 present, 3 excused.
Prayer by Pastor Jake Marion.
Please join me in prayer. Lord, your law is perfect, reviving the soul. Your testimony is sure, making wise the simple. Your precepts are right, rejoicing the heart. Your commandment is pure, enlightening the eyes. Your rules are true and righteous altogether. You are worthy of praise. God, it is an honorable calling to be a legislator. It is so primarily because it is a reflection of your prerogative and your authority to establish law. Only you can do so perfectly, but I pray for this chamber and for the House and for Governor Gordon, that in conjunction they can do so faithfully. I pray that shortly when this session draws to a close, that the work done here will be pleasing in your sight. The road has been long for these senators to get to this point, and there is still work to be done. Help their discernment not to fail as they work to bring tasks to a completion. Supply all that they need to the very end. Lord, you have called them to this post to honor you and to help the people of our state flourish. May that be the legacy of this session. I pray over these men and women, all these blessings that flow from your law, that you would revive them, that you would grant them wisdom, help them to arrive at what is right, to rejoice in what you have called good, and to have conviction about what is pure and righteous and true. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Sure. Baldwin, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reading, correction, and approval of journal.
Mr. President, your journal committee reports that the journal of March 6, 2024 has been read and recommends that it be approved. Senator Larson, chairman.
Any objections? Being none, the report's adopted. Doctor for the day, Ron Mong, DO, Family Medical Cheyenne. Don't see him back there. Nurse for the day is Jessica Buholtz, RN, Cheyenne Regional Medical Center. I think she's here. Come on out. Welcome, Jessica. All right, we didn't get the memo to you yesterday. Today is Pink Ribbon Day. Senator Barlow, you got one. Ron upstairs has got a pink tie on. I've got a pink shirt coming at noon. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Day. Away we go. Today in 1870, the world's first female jurors were seated in Laramie, Wyoming territory. Wyoming makes history again. March 7 is 307 Day, otherwise known as Wyoming Pride Day, is a day observed every year to honor this great state and its people. Quote for the day: being humble means recognize that we are not on earth to see how important we can become, but to see how much difference we can make in the lives of others. Gordon Hinckley. Budget bill today and last day for third reading of bills in the second house. Signing of enrolled acts. Enrolled Act number 30, Senate Enrolled Act number 36.
Senate Enrolled Act number 36, being original Senate File 123, an act relating to the Code of Civil Procedure.
I am about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 36, originally being Senate File 123. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 37.
Senate Enrolled Act number 37, being original Senate File 114, an act relating to city, county, state, and local powers.
I am about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 37, originally being Senate File 114. I have so signed. All right, we'll stop for a minute. We're good. I have people out here in the hallway. I did the breast cancer and did not have it. Senator Barlow, bring them all in. Oh, look, we got one of our best friends coming in the lead. Members of the Senate, today we welcome representatives of the Wyoming Breast Cancer Initiative who will provide an update on their efforts to raise awareness and increase prevention of breast cancer in Wyoming. Please help me welcome their advisory team, Kelly Morgan, Mary Throne, and Lori Heath. Welcome, ladies. I am so proud.
Thank you. Thank you, Senators, for the opportunity to speak to you again about the Wyoming Breast Cancer Initiative. I want to recognize all cancer survivors. We have a number of our board, a number of survivors in the gallery. I know there's some on the floor, and I'm sure many of you also have either are cancer survivors or have been touched by cancer in your family. So thank you for helping us celebrate today with our Legislative Pink Day. I want to introduce, as Senator Driscoll said, Kelly Morgan is actually our executive director. She's been executive director for about a year and a half. And then past president, who no stranger to anyone, is Mary Throne. And my name is Laurie Heath. I was the original president of the board, and now again, I'm president of the board again. So a little bit of background. The Wyoming Breast Cancer Initiative, or the WBCI, originated in January of 2016 after the national organization of Susan G. Komen left Wyoming. This departure prompted a number of dedicated volunteers to form the WBCI to continue the mission to increase breast cancer awareness and prevention across Wyoming. The WBCI is a nonprofit organization formed in Wyoming that grants funds only into Wyoming. We raise funds through various statewide events, donors, and sponsorships that are then granted into community breast cancer programs. We also partner with the Wyoming Cancer Program, which is part of the Wyoming Department of Health, to provide funding for all residents, men and women, to have access to all tests related to breast cancer screening or breast cancer diagnosis, regardless of age, income, gender, and insurance. So we fill the gap where the state and federal funding cannot, but we do not receive any state funds. So I kind of dug out a resolution some of you guys might have remembered. In February of 2016, the legislature gave us a resolution supporting and dedicating the Wyoming Breast Cancer Initiative. So we felt like it would be very fitting to make our big announcement today to the legislature. So we are very excited to announce today to you first that with our 2024 grant cycle, the Wyoming Breast Cancer Initiative will hit a major milestone for our organization. With these grants we have approved for 2024, the Breast Cancer Initiative will have granted over $1 million into the state of Wyoming.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, we're quite proud too. But I do want to stress that, just to remind you, all the money raised in Wyoming stays in Wyoming. We're also here today to honor one of our founding board members, Bobby Barrasso. She was, she was the heart and smile of the WBCI. And she had a vision for providing breast cancer screenings and promoting early detection and accessibility to the entire state. We miss her greatly and know she would be very proud of this milestone. Bobby's faith and support in our effort gave all of us the confidence to believe that our fledgling little organization would grow into an organization able to serve Wyoming for years to come. We are honored that Bobby and Senator Barrasso designated WBCI as one of her memorials, largely leaving a lasting legacy in her name to WBCI. And also on behalf of our board, our staff, our volunteers, the survivors, the warriors, and all their families, we thank you for recognizing our group. We commit to continuing our efforts to bring awareness and funding for early detection, providing navigation services for those receiving treatment, and helping survivors in many ways. If you need information, we have a website, wyomingbreastcancer.org, or you can always email at info@wyomingbreastcancer. Lastly, I wanted to thank you guys. There was a bill that you passed last year. It was adding a breast cancer awareness decal for license plates, and Representative Conrad brought that forward. And so we also wanted to thank you that you recognize us in that way. So thank you for what you do for Wyoming.
Senator Kinsey.
Well, Mary's still here. I want to thank her personally for the work. She's a Sheridan girl, the work that she does. As I told Mary this last year, my wife was on the phone with our daughter who's in her 40s, and my wife's saying, "What do you mean you haven't had a mammogram? You're in your 40s. And our daughter objected, "Well, I hear they're painful and you're not supposed to get it till you're 50. And my wife said, "With the history of breast cancer on both sides of your family, you are nuts. You've got to do this." And our daughter was not convinced. My wife hung up. Grr, she was just steaming. That girl is so stubborn. I said, "All you can do is pray that the Holy Spirit will touch her, that she'll listen to you." So she went and got a screening. There was a tumor buried deep in her breast. Fortunately, it was stage 0. Had a mastectomy, and she's on with her life, 2 little girls. And I can't thank you ladies enough for everything you do to promote the awareness. It's helped my wife to understand. It's helped so many people to understand. It's saved a lot of lives, including my daughter's. Appreciate all the work that you do. God bless you.
I wasn't going to speak. I guess I'm a little upset we made the announcement on this side of the building first, but that's okay. I'll get over it. I just want to, I wanted to thank Senator Kinsey for sharing that story, and thank President Driscoll for having us here and for his generosity. And I know you have work to do today, and we'll let you get on with it. Thank you.
Mr. President, thank you. Privilege of the floor. Good senators, for those of you that have been here for a while, this is not a new annual event for us, but it is so very special each year. We are joined in the gallery straight above us with people you know so well, Sean and Erin Taylor, who inform us of so many important things that we're working on and diligently serve the people of Wyoming. And today is the day they have all three of their brilliant children here with us today. So we have Bison, Ava, and Slade. Kids, stand up. I remember meeting them early on in my first campaign and having them come to the legislature and introducing them. And I have some excellent photos of them 8 years younger. And they were much smaller. But we can certainly all agree that beautiful parents have produced beautiful and talented children that are working so hard. Ava has been an intern here for me working this legislative session. And Bison, if I recall, has joined the Wyoming Military Department in service to our state and country as well. So we are so fortunate to have them here. I think they've come here every year for their entire lives. Thanks to the service of Sean and Erin Taylor. Parents, stand up too, and let's welcome them again this year. Such a joy.
Here, here. Signing of enrolled acts. I'm sure you want the mic for this. Senate Enrolled Act number 38.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 38 being original Senate File 105, an act relating to the administration of government.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 38, originally being Senate File 105. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 39.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 39 being original Senate File 96, an act relating to banks, banking, and finance.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 39, originally being Senate File 96. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 40.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 40 being original Senate File 80, an act relating to environmental quality.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 40, originally being Senate File 80. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act 41.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 41 being original Senate File 73, an act relating to weapons.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 41, originally being Senate File 73. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 42.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 42 being original Senate File 57, an act relating to public health and safety.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 42, originally being Senate File 57. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 43.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 43 being original Senate File 53, an act relating to the judiciary.
I am about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 43, originally being Senate File 53. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act 44.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 44 being original Senate File 52, an act relating to trade and commerce.
I am about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 44, originally being Senate File 52. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 45.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 45 being original Senate File 27, an act relating to special districts.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 45, originally being Senate File 27. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 26.
Senate Enrolled Act Number 46 being original Senate File 26, an act relating to special districts.
I'm about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 46, originally being Senate File 26. I have so signed. Senate Enrolled Act number 47.
Senate Enrolled Act number 47, being original Senate File 35, an act relating to public records.
I am about to sign Senate Enrolled Act number 47, originally being Senate File 35. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 43.
House Enrolled Act number 43, being original House Bill 126, an act relating to property.
I am about to sign House Enrolled Act number 43, originally being House Bill 126. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act 44.
House Enrolled Act number 44, being original House Bill 3, an act relating to taxation.
I am about to sign House Enrolled Act number 44, originally being House Bill 3. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 45.
House Enrolled Act number 45, being original House Bill 90, an act relating to children.
I am about to sign House Enrolled Act number 45, originally being House Bill 90. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 46.
House Enrolled Act number 46, being original House Bill 58, an act relating to law enforcement.
I am about to sign House Enrolled Act number 46, originally being House Bill 58. I have so signed. House Enrolled Act number 47.
House Enrolled Act number 47, being original House Bill 29, an act relating to the Attorney General.
I am about to sign House Enrolled Act number 47, originally being House Bill 29. I have so signed. Messages from the House.
From the House of Representatives. Mr. President, all the following messages are dated March 6, 2024. Message number 249. Mr. President, the following bills passed the House on third reading by the votes indicated. House Bill number 26, Special District Vacancies, ayes 62. Message number 250, Senate File 27, Special Districts Bond Elections Exception, ayes 35, noes 27. Message number 251, Senate File 52, Wyoming Stable Token Act Amendments, ayes 40, noes 22. Message number 252, Senate File 53, 6th Judicial District Number of Judges, ayes 56, noes 6. Message number 253, Senate File number 57, Wyoming Adult Hearing Aid Program, ayes 38, noes 24. Message number 254, Senate File 73, Concealed Firearms Permit Eligibility, ayes 62. Message number 255, Senate File number 80, Solid Waste Management Definition Amendments, ayes 62. Message number 256, Senate File number 96, Trusts and Bank Assets in Bankruptcy Clarification, ayes 62. Message number 257, Senate File 105, Wyoming Second Amendment Financial Privacy Act, ayes 61, noes 1. Message number 258, Mr. President, Senate File number 114, Contractor Licenses Reciprocal Recognition Requirements, passed the House on third reading, ayes 62. Message number 259, Senate File number 123, Minor Name Changes, ayes 61, noes 1. Message number 266, Concurrence passed. Mr. President, the House did concur on Senate amendments to House Bill number 104, Omnibus Water Bill Planning, ayes 62. Message number 267, Joint Conference Committee report adopted. Mr. President, the House adopted Joint Conference Committee number 1 on Senate File 35, Public Records DOC Investigations. Ayes 59, noes 2, excused 1. Message number 245, concurrence requested. Mr. President, the Senate File number 6, Nursing Home Administrators Temporary Licenses, passed on third reading in an amended form by the votes indicated. Ayes 62. Message number 246. Mr. President, Senate File number 19, Development Preschool Funding, passed on third reading in the House in an amended form. Ayes 50, noes 12. Message number 247, concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 23, Public Utilities Energy Resource Procurement, passed on third reading in an amended form. Ayes 54, noes 8. House respectfully asks the Senate to concur by adopting amendments. Message number 248, concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 24, Public Service Commission Integrated Resource Plans, passed on third reading in an amended form by the votes indicated. Ayes 62. The House respectfully asks the Senate to concur. Message number 261. Mr. President, Senate File number 42, Low Carbon Reliable Energy Standards Amendments, passed on third reading in an amended form by the votes indicated. Ayes 39, noes 23. The House respectfully asks the Senate to concur. Message number 262, Senate File number 77, Homeland Defense Infrastructure Reporting and Investigating, passed on third reading in an amended form. Ayes 58, noes 4. The House respectfully asks the Senate to concur. Message number 263, Mr. President, Senate File number 90, State Managed Local Government Equity Investment Pool, passed the House on third reading in an amended form. Ayes 44, noes 18. The House respectfully asks the Senate to concur. Message number 264, concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 99, Chloe's Law, Children Gender Change Prohibition, passed on third reading in an amended form. Ayes 55, noes 6, excused 1. The House respectfully asks the Senate to concur. Message number 265. Mr. President, Senate File 109, Prohibit Red Flag Gun Seizure Act, passed the House on third reading in an amended form. Ayes 54, noes 8. House respectfully asks the Senate to concur by adopting listed amendments. Message number 260, concurrence requested. Mr. President, Senate File 125, Pari-mutuel Wagering Activities Amendments, passed on third reading in an amended form. Ayes 51, noes 11. The House respectfully asks the Senate to concur. Signed, Katie Talbot, House Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Randy. We'll go on to concurrences if everybody's ready. Senator Baldwin, if you're ready on message number 245, reference in Senate File 6. I'll have that read in.
I am ready, sir.
Message number 245, referencing Senate File number 6, Nursing Home Administrators Temporary Licenses.
Senator Baldwin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for concurrence on message 245, referring to Senate File 6, Nursing Home Administrators Temporary License. Senators, the only thing they did on the other end of the hall is perhaps made this a little bit better bill. On page 2, they just changed this from a period to be determined by the department to a period not to exceed 6 months, which is very, very fine and well, and it doesn't hurt the bill and perhaps makes it better. I encourage an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Baldwin. The motion is the Senate do concur on Senate File 6 and vote aye. The Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Just more of an inquiry, is it the voting on the concurrence or voting on the Senate file? I think you said Senate File 6.
Concurrence on Senate File 6.
Okay, what message is that?
It's 245. He reads it in at the start, but it's not part of the script.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Concurrence, excuse me, concurrence vote, Senate File 6. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis? Excused. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 6, 30 aye, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 6. Senator Beitman, are you ready on message 265 on Senate File 109?
I am, Mr. President.
Reading clerk will read it in, please.
Message number 265, concurrence requested, referencing Senate File 109, Prohibit Red Flag Gun Seizure Act.
Senator Beitman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move concurrence on message 265, referencing Senate File 109, Prohibit Red Flag Gun Seizure Act, and ask you to vote aye. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll walk you through the amendments if you have your document in front of you. The first amendment they put on there pulls in involuntary hospitalization under Title 25. That's a friendly amendment. Also brings in, subject to an order under the game and fish statutes, you'll see 23-6208. It's harmless. It really isn't needed. It doesn't do anything to the bill, doesn't hurt it, doesn't help it. 23-6208 already says the game and fish cannot forfeit your weapons without due process. So I guess this is just added protection. Feel good amendment, harmless. The next amendment takes out the differentiation. As you recall, ladies and gentlemen, we differentiated between violent and nonviolent felons. The parties down the hall didn't want to deal with that, so they took out nonviolent felons and they treat all the felons the same. I personally disagree with it, but it's not the heart of the bill, so I can live with that. Moving on to page 2, the next amendment brings in federal law that already covers these areas, such as legally incompetent, committed to a mental institution, an alien who's illegal or unlawfully in the state of Wyoming, dishonorably discharged. Those are all covered in federal section 922G, but they just brought that language into state law. Since they didn't specifically reference that section of federal law, it's pretty much harmless. The next amendment takes out the findings on the bottom of page 2 and over to page 3. And that's what's left of the bill. The bill in its, the heart of the bill is still the same. You cannot seize somebody's firearms without due process. Still a very important piece of legislation, and I'll ask for your aye vote on concurrence. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Beitman. The motion is the Senate do confer on Senate File 109 and vote aye. The chief clerk will call the roll.
Senate File 109 concurrence roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis excused. French? Aye. Furphy? I. Guru. I. Hicks. I. Hutchings. I. Ide. I. Jones. I. Kinski. I. Cole. I. Landon. I. Larson. I. McEwen. I. Nethercott. I. Pappas. I. Rothfuss. I. Salazar. I. Schuler. I. Scott. I. Steinmetz. I. President Driscoll.
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 109, 30 aye, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 109. Senator Dockstader, are you ready on message 261 on Senate File 42?
Yes, Mr. President.
Chief Clerk will read it in, please.
Message number 261, referencing Senate File 42, Low Carbon Reliable Energy Standards Amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move message number 261, Low Carbon Energy Standard Amendments. This is Senate File 42 Committee Bill. We sent down the other side. They had some concerns that shortened the wording up on our annual reports and so forth. I moved the changes around to all my committee members and got their approval. Everybody's good with it. It's simple changes. Just simply ask you approve it and that we move forward with this legislation. Thank you.
The motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 42 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will call the roll. Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, on Senate File 42, on page 4, lines 10 through 21, delete. My question is, what did they do there? It looks like they removed provision that I know one of the large utilities didn't like on trying to get the utilities to look at potential customers for the carbon dioxide, because our oil and gas industry really needs carbon dioxide, Mr. President. And I wonder if this has to significantly weaken the law, and wonder if maybe we shouldn't go back and talk to the House a little bit about why did they do that?
Senator Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't see that it does, but if you do have concerns and the good senator is uncomfortable with it, happy to put together a committee quickly this afternoon and get that answer for him.
Thank you. Motion is the Senate do concur on Senate File 42 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Concurrence vote, Senate File 42. Anderson? Aye. Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Aye. Barlow? Aye. Aye. Beitman? No. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Brennan Conflict? Brennan Conflict. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis excused. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? Aye. Kinski? No. Kolb? No. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? No. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Landon, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 42, 13 aye, 16 no, 1 excused, 1 conflict.
By your vote, you have failed to concur on Senate File 42. Senator Case, are you ready on message number 247 on concurrence on Senate File 23?
Indeed, Mr. President.
Chief Clerk will read it in, please.
Message number 247, referencing Senate File 23, Public Utilities Energy Resource Procurement.
Senator Case.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move message number 247, the concurrence request to Senate File 23, Public Utilities Energy Resource Procurement. There's only one change in wording that our friends down the hall decided to do. It was a shall that became to a may. And their Appropriations Committee added $156,000 to the appropriation that we did. And there's another bill coming up for concurrence that also deals with the Public Service Commission. And within that, you can see there was some adjustment of the appropriation the other way. So we'll be able to, they kind of fit together, Mr. President. But the word change made a shall is on page 3, line 21, and it's a shall to may, I'm sorry, and it's part E. The commission shall appoint an independent evaluator to monitor any solicitation submitted for approval under this section. And this, of course, is the Public Utility Energy Resource Procurement. Our friends down the hall decided that would be better to be permissive instead of forcing an independent evaluator. With the new staff, they could do the evaluation in-house. And so that's why it is now from a shall to a may. I think it's a good change, and I hope we'll all support it. This and the next utility bill are kind of some of the most important pieces to come out in the utility area. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Case. The motion is that the Senate do concur on Senate File 23 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Concurrence vote, Senate File 23. Anderson? Aye. Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan Conflict? Thank you. Brennan Conflict. Case? Aye. Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis excused. French? Aye. Murphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 23, 29 aye, 1 excused, 1 conflict.
By your vote, you have conferred on Senate File 23. Senator Bouchard, are you ready on message 264 regarding Senate File 99? Yes, Chief Clerk will read it in.
Message number 264, referencing Senate File 99, Chloe's Law, Children Gender Change Prohibition.
Senator Bouchard.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is on Senate File 99, Chloe's Law. What they did down the hall is they deleted the name Chloe's Law, which it has floated through all through the session, still up on the website. So I guess that's certainly one that we can give them because it's kind of doesn't do anything. They had a big battle on this amendment that they got in down there, and finally, believe it or not, the coach actually came through and helped us out and put a good amendment on there that I think we can live with. So it doesn't do anything to the bill, maybe even makes it a little bit better so everybody's clear in what the bill does. So I would ask for a concurrence vote on this bill, and I want to thank everybody in the chamber for making sure this got through to protect the children.
Senator Barlow. Would you formally move the message in the bill, please?
Yes, I'd like to move concurrence, message number 264 on Senate File 99.
Motion is Senate do concur on Senate File 99 and vote aye. The Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Senate File 99, concurrence roll call. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis excused. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Baru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? No. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 99, 28 aye, 2 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 99. Senator Case, are you ready on message 248 concerning Senate File 24?
Indeed, Mr. President.
Reading clerk, read it in, please.
Message number 248, referencing Senate File 24, Public Service Commission Integrated Resource Plans.
Senator Case.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move message number 248, the concurrence request to Senate File 24, Public Service Commission Integrated Resource Plans. The entirety of the changes that our friends made was with respect to the appropriations. Our friends giveth and they taketh away. And in the last bill they gaveth, and in this bill they taketh away. And we had 2 positions and $600,000. It ended up being 1 position and $376,000. The focus of this legislation is in a similar area to the piece that we just passed where it had gone up. So you can see that some greater thinking went into the workload, and there was more opportunity for the agency to weigh in on the workload between the 2 bills. And I think we can live with this change, and let's get her done. So I ask for your aye vote.
Motion is the Senate do concur on Senate File 24 and vote aye. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Concurrence roll call vote. Senate File 24. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? No. Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan conflict? Thank you. Case?
Aye.
Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis excused. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 2429 aye, 1 excused, 1 conflict.
By your vote, you have conferred on Senate File 24. Senator Kinski, are you ready on message 205 on Senate File 47 for concurrence?
Yes, Mr. President.
Reading clerk will read it in, please.
Message number 205, referencing Senate File 47, Law Enforcement Retirement Contributions.
Senator Kinski.
Mr. President, I move concurrence on Senate File 47, being message number 205, and ask the body to vote aye. There were 2 changes to this bill that we've been working on off and on for several biennia. This is the closest we ever got to getting it done. The first change is acceptable. This is an increase of 5%, and the local cities, towns, counties, all of whom have folks that they have to pay this share on, ask that it be phased in over a 3-year period, and that's certainly acceptable. It ends up actually putting the fund a little bit ahead because they do it in increments that in the end, it's about 5.4%, so it actually puts the fund on route to solvency more quickly. And then the final action on the other side was to increase the death benefit for officers killed in the line of duty from the current 60%, I believe, or 62% to 90%, plus 6% of that salary for each child under age 18. It maxes at 100%. That language remains in the statute. And so I would ask for an aye vote, and we can put this one to bed. Thank you, Mr. President.
The motion is the Senate do concur on Senate File 47 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will please call the roll.
Concurrence roll call vote, Senate File 47, Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis excused. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Rothfuss, no. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 47, 29 aye, 1 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 47. Senator Kinski, are you ready on message 211 on Senate File 67?
Mr. President, I am.
Reading clerk will read it in, please.
Message number 211, referencing Senate File 67, Public Employee Retirement Plan Contributions.
Senator Kinski.
Mr. President, I ask for concurrence on Senate File 67, message number 211. And there's no actual recommendation, folks. It's vote your conscience. And I'll give you a little bit of the pros and cons here. What they did is, this is the law, they call it the big plan. This is public employee retirement. It's hundreds of millions of dollars underwater. This would be, I think, the third or fourth biennium we've worked on this bill. This is the furthest it's ever gotten. What they added is that they would pay the employees increased share of the contribution for 2 years. 2 years, that's it. A total of $3,483,000. And thereafter, you know, if we're going to pay the employee share, it'd require another budget session where that decision was made, but right now it's just 2 years. So the question is $3.5 million too high a price to pay to get this to down the hall for signature and let it become law? It's $3.5 million versus putting multiple hundreds of millions of dollars in the hole on track to heal up. So I'll leave it to you folks to make that determination. Thank you, Mr. President.
Motion is Senate do concur on Senate File. The motion is that the Senate do concur on Senator Barlow.
Thank you, Mr. President. So it would be helpful for this concurrence, Mr. President, if someone would give us an update. Subsection E of this talks about a one-for-one reduction based on a Section 325 in House Bill 1. So any information would be helpful in that to maybe understand the interplay between those. Even though I know we don't have a conference committee on House Bill 1, it would still be helpful if someone could speak to that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Kinski.
Point of order, am I limited to 2 times, Mr. President?
You can stand. This is, it's exponent. Oh, Senator Scott, I'm sorry, and then we'll go to you, Senator Kinski. We might have another question for you.
Mr. President, let me speak now so we don't interfere with his ability to speak a second time. On the conference report, I'm going to urge the Senate to adopt it. The few things that can get us in more trouble financially faster than an underfunded pension plan. Our Appropriations Committee has been working diligently on this for multiple sessions. We have a chance, by putting this bill in place, to get that problem on the road to a long-term solution. There's a problem because it could hit the employees and actually decrease their pay at a time, their take-home pay, they get to put in their pocket or put in their bank at a time when there's significant inflation, and that's a problem. I think taking care of that problem for a 2-year period is a small price to pay for getting this permanent solution in place, Mr. President. So I'm going to urge the Senate to vote aye on this concurrence because it'll get the job done and get the job done that works for everybody, including the employees.
Senator Hicks.
Mr. President, and this is just for clarification. So this is the big pool that covers all the state employees, but also covers every one of your local municipalities and your counties, your school districts and your special districts. And so now we're going to carve out a special provision that we're going to pay the employees' share, but that doesn't extend all the way across to all of those other individuals in the pool. We just say, you local governments, we're going to pay the employee share here, but you guys are still on the hook. And so I just think there's a lack of parity with the way this is being presented, so I'm going to be a no vote.
Senator Kinski for your
Thank you. I'll take the last one first with respect to parity. The local governments make their own determinations. The data that we've seen indicates most local governments pick up nearly all of the employee share repeatedly. But that's their call. That's their call. This is dealing just with the big plant. This is dealing only, this 3.5 million is only for the state employees, University of Wyoming, community colleges. And I don't know how you get parity into that system unless we start paying that share, the employee share for all localities. It's their call. And so it's up to them to make that determination. I wouldn't, to me, yay or nay on the concurrence doesn't depend on what the locals will do. There's no really controlling that. An appropriation for all the locals to pay their share for 2 years would be a pretty hefty sum. With respect to page 2, section E, what this is saying is there was a provision in the budget bill as it came out of JAC that said 3.48 million to pay the employees' share for the duration of the budget. I don't know whether that's in there or not, but this is a fail-safe to say, if it's in there, we're not gonna pay it twice. It says for every $1 that is appropriated up to the full 3.5 million in section 325, this appropriation would be reduced by $1 as well. So the 3.5 is either in the budget bill or in this bill, but not both. And I hope that answers that question, Mr. President. Thank you.
Excellent, thanks, Senator Kinski. Motion is the Senate do concur on Senate File 67, this is a new one, and vote your conscience. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Senate File 67, concurrence roll call. Anderson? Aye. Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? No. Brennan? Aye. Case? No. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis excused. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Guru? Aye. Hicks? No. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? Aye. Kinski? No. Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? No. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Conflict? Schuler, conflict. Scott? Aye. Steinmetz? No. President Driscoll?
No.
No. Beitman? Aye to no. Salazar? No. Kolb? No. Kinski, no to aye. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. On concurrence to Senate File 67, 15 aye, 14 no, 1 excused, 1 conflict.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate, oh, you have not, because majority, excuse me. By your vote, you have failed to confer on Senate File 67. Back to the salt mine, Senator Kinski. Senator Rothfuss, can you come do this while I?
Yeah,
Senator Driscoll, are you ready on concurrence regarding Senate File 125?
Mr. Chairman, I am.
All right, let's get that ready.
Message number 260, referencing Senate File 125, pari-mutuel wagering activities amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move for concurrence on message 260 on Senate File 125. Folks, this was the pari-mutuel bill, and what they did down the hallway on it was actually took out the entire rodeo section, which is appropriate. Rodeo was kind of a flashing light in it. We didn't bring any of the other areas out, so really all this does is removes the rodeo section out of it, and the rest of it's renumbering. I would ask for your aye vote on concurrence.
Thank you, Senator Driscoll. Any discussion? Discussion on Senate File 125? Seeing none. Roll call on concurrence related to message number 260 on Senate File 125.
Concurrence roll call vote, Senate File 125. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis excused. French? No. Furphy? Aye. Garou? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? No. Ide? No. Jones? Aye. Kinski?
Excused.
Kolb? Aye. Landon? Aye. Larson? No. McEwen? No. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? No. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Steinmetz? No. Kinski excused. President Driscoll?
Aye.
Aye. Kinski? Aye. Aye. Closing vote? Closing. Vote closed. Concurrence vote on Senate File 125, 22 aye, 8 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 125. Senator Drew, are you ready on message number 263 on Senate File 90?
I am.
Reading clerk, read it in, please.
Message number 263, referencing Senate File 90, state-managed local government equity investment pool.
Senator Drew.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to move for concurrence on Senate File 90 from message 263. That's the state-managed local government equity investment pool. Good morning, Senators. This bill moved through this body and went down the hall, and we added a section in the last, let's see, on page 5 of the bill, line 11, we added a little ESG policy on there, and it got down to the other side, and there was a vigorous debate in committee, a lot of testimony from folks on the first floor, a couple of different offices, and in their infinite wisdom, they removed that section and sent it back to us, approved. I spoke with the bringer, the member who was most interested in that provision in the bill. We had a discussion, and we determined that we would work on some other avenues to maybe affect the change he's looking for, and that we would work together on that. And but for now, that we would ask to concur on Senate File 90 and vote aye.
Questions? Seeing none. Motion is the Senate do concur on Senate File 90 and vote aye. Chief Clerk will please call the roll.
Concurrence vote, Senate File 90, roll call. Anderson. Aye. Aye. Baldwin. Aye. Barlow. Aye. Beitman. Aye. Boner. Aye. Bouchard. No. Brennan. Aye. Case. Aye. Cooper. Aye. Dockstetter. Aye. Ellis excused. French. Aye. Furphy. Aye. Guru. Aye. Hicks. Aye. Hutchings. No. Ide. No. Jones. Aye. Kinsky. No. Kolb. Aye. Landon. Aye. Larson. No. McEwen. No. Nethercott. Aye. Pappas. Aye. Rothfuss. Aye. Salazar. No. Schuler. Aye. Scott. No. Steinmetz. No. President Driscoll.
Aye.
Aye. Beitman, aye to no. Closing vote. Closing. Vote closed. Senate File 90, concurrence vote, 20 aye, 10 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have concurred on Senate File 90.
That was talking about reserves, wasn't it? Is that a two-page? Is that a two-page?
Senator Landon, if you're ready on Joint Conference Committee Number 1 report, referencing Senate File 34, I'll have it read in.
Joint Conference Committee report number on Senate File 34, sex offender registration, registrable offenses, referencing House Message number 217.
Senator Landon.
Mr. President, I am lacking the concurrence number on that one. I don't know if I referred to the original one.
It's Joint Conference Committee report number 1.
The original, fellow senators, I would move concurrence on original message 217, referencing Senate File 34. And fellow senators, we went down the hall. We did not concur with the changes made down there. And Mr. President, we had a good meeting. And I wouldn't say that we got rolled, but when we were on the mat, the referee slapped his hand before we could get up out of a hold. And so we understood where they were coming from. And let me try to explain, fellow senators, this was the bill for sex offender registrable offenses. And the intent of the bill was to bring in some offenses that we currently do not have in our statutes. Sexual servitude of an adult, sexual servitude of a minor, and human trafficking. And so that being the original intent of the bill, we were encouraged by the other body that we should separate out an attempt that your Senate committee ran across the situation where we thought there was an offense that was in the wrong category. And we attempted to move that back into a lesser category. We have agreed to take that issue to an interim, get a look at it there, Mr. President, return the bill to the original form that it came out of the joint committee work. And again, that allows us to pull in some offenses that I think need to be there in our statutes. So I would ask that you, this is a vote to recede from non-concurrence. So I would ask for, I need to move to recede from that non-concurrence, and I would ask for your aye vote.
Discussion. Seeing none. Motion is the Senate do adopt the Joint Conference Committee report number 1, referencing Senate File 34, and vote aye. This will recede the Senate position. Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Joint Conference Committee Report Number 1, Senate File 34, received from non-concurrence. Anderson? Aye. Baldwin? Aye. Barlow? Aye. Beitman? Aye. Boner? Aye. Bouchard? Aye. Brennan? Aye. Case? Aye. Cooper? Aye. Dockstetter? Aye. Ellis excused. French? Aye. Furphy? Aye. Garou? Aye. Hicks? Aye. Hutchings? Aye. Ide? Aye. Jones? Aye. Kinski? Aye. Cole? Aye. Landon?
Aye.
Aye. Larson? Aye. McEwen? Aye. Nethercott? Aye. Pappas? Aye. Rothfuss? Aye. Salazar? Aye. Schuler? Aye. Scott? No. Steinmetz? Aye. President Driscoll? Aye. Closing vote. Closing vote closed. Joint Conference Committee Report Number 1 to Senate File 34, 29 aye, 1 no, 1 excused.
By your vote, you have adopted Joint Conference Committee Report Number 1, reference file, Senate File 34, receiving. Senator Drew.
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of order.
Yes.
On message 263 regarding House or Senate File 90, that bill required a 2/3 majority for passage, but we didn't get a 2/3 majority on the concurrence, which I've been informed was necessary. So I don't believe we did concur.
We will go back.
We did not.
Ellen, can you pull the sheet up on that?
So to the point of order.
Senator Case.
The members need to know that it takes a 2/3 before they vote on it. So if
Yep.
we have to reconsider this,
No, we will.
I mean, that would be very important. You can't just go back and take that vote. So thank you.
Yeah, we need a motion to reconsider. Senator Rothfuss.
I would say that the original motion and reading was out of order, so I don't think we need a reconsideration. I think we effectively rule that out of order and rerun it with the announcement ahead of time, so it's not following necessarily.
Without objection, that's
reconsideration.
what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to challenge the chair, otherwise we're going to go right back into it. Senator Drew, are you ready on message number 263, references Senate File 90?
I am, Mr. President.
Reading clerk will read it in, please.
Message number 263, referencing Senate File 90, State-Managed Local Government Equity Investment Pool.
Senator Drew.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur on Senate File 90 for message 263, State-Managed Local Government Equity Investment Pool. I just gave you the explanation, but it does require a 2/3 vote.
Further discussion. Motion is the Senate do concur on Senate File 90 and vote aye. This requires a 2/3 vote for passage. Chief Clerk will call the roll. Excuse me. Reverend Peter. Stand to ease the sound of the gavel. Senator Case.
Mr. President, if we need a little bit more time to figure out this glitch and get things, it's awful close to lunch. How about if someone were to move that we go to lunch and come back at, say at 2 o'clock?
That would be very acceptable. For the public out there, our computer system, because of the lockup we had, is going to take some time to reset. So a motion for lunch is probably in order.
Would 2 o'clock be acceptable?
It would be.
All right, I move that the, and here
Senator
comes the
Hicks,
majority.
we got Majority Floor Leader Hicks.
Let's let him do it. We're hungry, sir.
Senator Hicks, the Majority Floor Leader Hicks, the computer system is still down.
I move we stand recessed until 1 o'clock.
Can we go to 1:30? We've got a conference committee over lunch.
All right, so let's stand recess until 2 p.m.
Very good. Senate will stand recess until 2 p.m. Senator Boner.
Except for Kilkenny.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Queen number 8 will have our interim topics for the Joint Conference Committee, let's say at 12:20. Give a little way for our folks down the hall there. That'll be in room W6 and online, so 12:20 transportation.
Senator Biden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't know if anybody can hear me, but I'll keep talking. Your Joint Revenue Committee is going to meet upon noon recess in, I think, W6 and online to discuss interim topics. Thank you.
Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. The TRW Committee, we've already had our interim meeting, but the House TRW Committee is going to meet at noon today, just to visit with the Tourism Department to get a lot of ins and outs on how things are working over there. So it'd be just optional if any of the TRW folks want to meet over there at 12 o'clock. Thank you.
Majority Floor Leader Hicks.
Mr. President, I want to announce that the Republicans will be caucusing at 4 p.m. in public meeting room number 4 for a budget presentation by budget and fiscal staff to go over the Joint Conference Committee report. Mr. President, I have one other announcement. So members of the body, you know, we always hear about, well, we got elections coming up and there's no election fraud, but I put a case on your desk that I'd like you to review of a case of election fraud that occurred in Baggs, Wyoming. And so for your reading pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, please take a look at that. So when you hear there's no election fraud in Wyoming, look at that case.
Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. President. I look forward to answering any of your questions, members of the Republican caucus, on the work that we will be doing and have done on your Joint Conference Committee on the budget. We will be meeting again today at noon. The members of the Joint Conference Committee, I welcome you up to the Joint Appropriations Room to watch the finalization of that joint conference work and see maybe additional actions that may occur. So I welcome you to that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Further announcements? You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Senate will stand recessed until 2 p.m.